Hello, friends. Dr. Nels here with my special guest, my mother, Kathy Lindberg, Mrs. L to many over the years. Last week we were talking to you with information on her life values. This week we're coming to you with information on her professional life and grit in life and leadership. Hello, friends. Dr. Nels here, coming to you this week with more information on life, leadership, business, and family, helping build the values and principles in you so that you can be the best version of you. And it's the honor of my life to do this with my mother here, doing some episodes to bring you some content and pull out her wisdom. And this week we're going to talk to you about some of her professional life and grit and leadership as she grinded through a Hall of Fame 39-year career as a band and vocal instructor K through 12. I always marveled at her after I got old enough and wise enough to understand teaching a kindergarten class 1 hour or minute and maybe 15 minutes later teaching high school kids. And if you're a teacher out there, you're probably the only people that can fully understand that or respect that, but she did that for years, shifting gears hour upon hour, second grade to middle school, to third grade, to high school kids, which is flat incredible. And so this week we want to talk to you about some of that. And as you think about your 39-year Hall of Fame career and doing that, to help our audience and some of their challenges, what were some of your greatest challenges over your career?
Probably the greatest challenge in my career was because I considered when those kids walked in my room, they were mine. They were first off under my control, whatever I allowed her.
I want to hit pause real quick. So for those of us in business, right, she's talking about kids. As leaders of teams, whatever the team is, those are our kids. That's our family. That's who we are charged with caring for. Sorry.
That's all right.
Play.
Okay. So, in that light, now I consider they're in my charge, then they must abide by my rules. And so that takes time. It takes time to build trust with some of them because, first off, they don't care about music. So listening to me and what I'm going to require of them is just foolishness to them. And so you have to work to pull them into your world of fun and all that goes with music, whether it be playing an instrument, singing, or game things that we did. And switching back and forth, going to different age groups, I actually liked. I liked it because sometimes I could be more relaxed with a certain age group. And then other age groups, I would have to be more, I guess I'll say, really on my game.
Intense.
Yeah, intense in all of it. Because sometimes I would be sitting at the piano and playing for whatever we were singing.
Yeah.
And I was also needing to be aware of what was going on in the classroom. Then I also must be aware of reading their lips, knowing if they were doing the correct words at the right time, because you know that goes on. And so that's a lot of intense things going at the same time.
Yeah. 50 kids if it was high school.
Right.
High school of 60.
And at Leota, there was like, I had almost 80 kids. And I was not ever playing for them. I was always just in the director position. But I would say that takes a lot of energy, a lot of mental firing constantly.
Mental gymnastics.
Right. So I would say that was a real, what should I say, a real hard situation, really, that you're doing all the time. So what you need to acquire then in that is you have to have those people who are with you and on your side. I'll put it like that, I guess, on your side in the game.
Yeah.
Because if you are running low on energy, you can go to the eyes of the people that you know are in the game with you, and I could be refreshed.
Draw some energy from
From them, which I did, and I literally talked to some students about that and what they gave me, so they would know what really was happening in a rehearsal
Yeah.
like that.
So with those students, I'm thinking high school students that
Right.
you knew are with you or bought in. What did then you do to allow them to lead maybe the kids who weren't necessarily on board yet? Delegating some of that leadership to those students that were already bought in.
Okay, so here's what I did, and in this aspect, we had a student, a boy, that could not carry a tune, and now they're in junior high, and he wanted to be in this small group of boys. We called them the Dynamic Dozen, and he really wanted to do it, but he had to have somebody by him that he respected that would say to him, up, you need to be up right there. And you know what? It worked. That kid would follow whatever the other one would tell him to do, and he would fall in, and he would end up getting the melody conquered. And I cite that because it was just always such a marvelous moment to have that happen. And when we did musicals, the seniors were the leaders, and they were the ones responsible every night of rehearsals. Somebody had the commons area, because a lot of times we had food in the commons area, and kids could be out there studying or talking, whatever. And then we had the gym area, and maybe there was stuff in there. The piano had to be moved back. Then there was a stage area, and props had to be put back into place. So there were always, and then some of the people would be the ones who tell the group, we are ready for scene 3, act 2, let's go. And they would get them to their places.
So you picked out your people that gave you energy.
Right.
Because as Kale mentioned, they were buying in, they believed in the purpose.
Right.
They believed
Right.
in the mission. And then you in turn created voluntary soldiers out of them, voluntary leaders to help lead others.
Right.
Which we can do in business. You were doing it in the classroom with kids.
Right. And I had 2 or 3 classes. They actually, one day I had to be out of the room, and I had already prepped a couple of them. If I get a phone call, I need to take the phone call. So I'm going to leave the rehearsal. You just step up and take over and rehearse whatever in band we were working on, or in choir. And they just carried on and did it. I went out with a class I was a sponsor of for a bus thing that we did with Highway Patrol. And you could hear the band playing away, and some woman was asking the bus driver about those kids in there. And the bus driver goes, well, would you believe it? That lady over there, she's a director. She's out here with this class.
And that happened because of your rules.
Right.
When you stepped in her classroom, you knew the rules. Her son didn't always behave by them, because I got straight A's all through high school, except for 2 times that my mother gave me a B. Twice. But I deserved the B because I wasn't playing by your rules.
It's good to know you don't hold a grudge.
Right.
So back to the challenges, though, beyond the ones
Yes.
you had with your son as a trombone player and a bass singer, well, soprano as a freshman.
That was
Well-
because he could do that. Well, I made all the high school boys once sing in their falsetto because the girls weren't getting quite what I wanted. And I thought, I bet those boys could do it. Sure enough.
Yeah, I was stuck in there to be the soprano leader. So, but back to challenges, and this is a business, life, leadership, all around podcast, blogs that we do, episodes that we do. With schools today, what was one or two of your biggest challenges with parents?
Well, sometimes parents didn't believe in, if parents didn't believe in the discipline the way I did, I had to convince them that I was sure my way was right. And so I had a young man that I kept working with, and, you know, he just wasn't falling in line. So I called the parents in at parent-teacher conference, and I said, you know, you're here because I want you to know that I've been working with your son and giving him opportunity after opportunity to follow the rules of the classroom. And I said, now if he doesn't do it the next time, probably he is going to come home and tell you that he has been paddled. And that mother felt like that was a little bit too strong. You know, I should give him more chances.
I'm sure.
And I said, well, I'll tell you what, I'm here using music as a tool to help build a son that goes out for a job and he has good character and he is responsible, he has good work ethic, and whoever his boss is, he's going to come and tell me the best thing that happened to me was the day I hired him. And I'm going to teach him that through music and in the process, the rules that we use in music. And if you do not show up for your job, I said to the father, so many times you're late, you come 15 minutes late, you're 2 hours late, and you're always told over and over what's going to happen to you. And he said, I will be fired. And I said, and that paddling and that F grade will be the same thing. It's a firing. It's learning he crossed the line, and you're either going to hold to the ethics that the job requires, or you're not going to be here anymore. And I'm helping him early in life so he doesn't have to expect it or receive it as a grown-up.
And that, my friends, is why she's a Hall of Fame teacher. So earlier I talked about all the preachings we got, and if you're a student of Mrs. L's, you all know what I'm talking about. That's ultimately what she was doing. She was building great human beings, great adults through music education. And that's why you've turned out so many rock star students. Just incredible stuff. I do have another question, though. Did you ever want to quit?
I did. I had a principal who would stand outside my door and watch me work. He couldn't open the door for whatever reason and come on in and watch me work. He did it outside the door. And he had some parents kind of supporting that my choice of sacred music was maybe a little too heavy. And I was probably trying to pass on my faith through my music with the students. And I needed to stop doing that. And I believe that was the year we did a Mull and the Night Visitors during when we would do a musical.
Mm-hmm.
And I said I wasn't doing that. I was teaching the students good music. That was all part of my job.
Mm-hmm.
And so he kept doing that, and then we would have a visit, and I should stop doing that. And so it finally came to a head in which I went in the office after our Christmas concert and said, you know, this is what I have been hired for. This is what I know how to do, and I'm working to build great people through my music. And if you don't like that, I am really sorry.
Yeah.
But you are not going to come back in my room anymore and complain about my choices of literature, because they're going to get sacred and they're going to get secular. And if at the end of the year you want me removed, well, I guess that is your choice. But right now, I was hired to do this job, and I'm doing it to the best of my ability, and I'm going to stand on that.
Yeah.
And then I went home because I couldn't
Yeah.
stand to be in the building anymore. And your father found me and said, well, and I was crying buckets, of course. He said, well, quit the job if you really feel you want to.
Yeah, if you don't mix, it doesn't work.
But I
So-
couldn't quit because that would be against my code.
So what kept you going all those years through different administrators, different teachers, all different kinds of kids, through all the many challenges and trials and tribulations that you went through in teaching K through 12 band and vocal? What kept you going?
Well, I'm not a quitter. And so I couldn't quit.
Correct.
Plus,
Amen.
I believed that what I was doing was right, that I was doing the right thing for kids.
Yeah.
And I loved kids.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd rather work with kids than grown-ups.
Yeah.
And so I guess I'd have to say I had to stay.
Good stuff. Not a quitter, but at the end of the day, it was a purpose deeper than herself. It was a purpose of growing great human beings. And if you're watching this, if you're in a position of leadership or not in a position of leadership, right? That's one of, if you've watched me for very long, you know that's the root of our foundation, is helping you be the best version of yourself, so then you can in turn grow those around you every single day, whoever it might be around you, whether it's the team you lead, whether it's your kids, whether it's other people's kids, whether it's your church body, whether it's a group of athletes, it doesn't matter. What's your purpose? But we believe everybody has a purpose to help ourselves be the best version of ourselves. Then in turn, once we're good at that, then it is our duty to help grow those around us into being the best versions of them. So, fantastic stuff. We're glad you're here. We hope you like this content. Click subscribe here, and we'll see you next week with our most important special guest, my mother, Kathy Lindberg.